Gary? They knocked on doors.
Well, I can remember getting initiated into this. I had to knock on doors.
And we take the toughest project in the city that has the highest drop. Each one of us mentored Du Bois and eventually got a master's degree that's teaching at Cherry Creek High.
That's right, that's my James, yes.
and he, when you say hello, and the one thing we had in common was the bridge project, but the memories forms a smile on both our faces.
Well, Charlie, you got us a lot of free stuff.
Yeah, but Charlie, you designed all of these.
The people who breathe life, dedication, and love into the Bridge Project have a lot to recall and to celebrate after 20 years of changing the lives of children in Denver.
It's a long story. Where do we begin?
The Bridge Project story began with an idea from some really smart people at the University of Denver, including Chancellor Dan Ritchie.
Dan asked me to set up programs where the citizens of the city could take advantage of the university.
Chancellor Dan Ritchie, Dean Jack Jones, and Professor William Cloud saw the potential.
This was very different. It wasn't just the students going out to the community, it was basically a social service agency embedded in a school of social work.
And that made all the difference in the world because we weren't the outsiders looking in. We understood the problems within the community.
The first Bridge Project Tutoring and Mentoring Center was in a Denver Housing Authority apartment in the Lincoln Park neighborhood.
That area had the highest dropout rate in the city.
And they gave us a 2-bedroom apartment, and I went down and looked at it. And regardless of my feelings about my mother-in-law, I wouldn't put her in it. They said, "What can you do with this?" I said, "I can get it fixed."
Generosity made the remodel happen. Then the real work began.
We had to get a buy-in from the community, which wasn't easy.
We said, "Come if you choose to come. Everyone's welcome."
You're dealing with low income, you're dealing with uneducated, but with people who cared about education, cared about their kids. We knocked on every door in the project.
Okay, we're gonna walk to the front door today.
And that was the beginning of Bridge.
Children started coming to the Bridge Project every day after school. They got help with their homework and help in life from DU students and community volunteers. Other activities like Boy Scouts, Tech Team, and a summer program soon took hold at Bridge.
I would see these kids with their computers, and I would see a tutor. I mean, it turned me on saying, here's these kids that they wouldn't have had this opportunity.
At that time, we were running just by the seat of our pants, whatever we could do, and I was the director in charge of free stuff. I'd go out and try and find, a desk or a chair or a table or something.
And I remember talking to the contractor, and he said, "Well, Gary, you're gonna run summer programs. There's no air conditioning." He said, "Well, put an air conditioner in." He said, "Well, there's no air conditioning in any of the apartments in the entire project." And I said, "Well, we'll be the first." He said, "Well, the government pays for the electricity." I said, "That's even better."
That was what I learned and what was the excitement of sitting on the bridge board. No was never even in our vocabulary.
Mary Crane came to Bridge in 1997. She taught staff and volunteers how to grow the Bridge Project one kid at a time.
The best hire I ever made was Mary Crane.
Because how do you describe in words spirit, devotion, commitment, not 9 to 5, but 24 hours a day?
Mary had a magical touch. Well, we dealt with all kinds of things. Pregnancies, no place to live, no food, no money. If kids wouldn't show up, we'd go to their house and see where they were and what's going on. First about it was one child at a time.
That's what's changed their lives, that someone has taken a look at just them as an individual and figured out how to help them be successful.
One child at a time, Bridge was working. By 2008, 4 bridge projects were up and running in 4 of Denver's poorest neighborhoods.
The strength is in the numbers. You change one life at a time, but if you're changing 300, that really makes a difference.
Every Bridge kid has a story. The Bridge board members know the stories because they were often a part of them.
They were just right in there. There wasn't a single person that just, quote, served on a board.
I mentored a young woman who had a child in high school.
So I met him thinking that we would have a nice chat, and then somehow I'd help him with his schoolwork. And it turns out he had spent the weekend in jail.
And then Bridge came to North Lincoln, and it changed her life. And that changed my life.
Before he left, he went and gave me a hug. I never thought I would get that from him. And his mother came up to me and said, "What did you do to him? He's never embraced anybody."
Since the Bridge Project began, 148 students have gone to college on a Bridge scholarship, but they haven't forgotten about us.
And those kids that are on scholarship and go to the University of Denver or Metro or wherever it might be, they end up being tutors.
Seeing the look on the face of a person who went on and got to college and came back and said, "What can I do to help?"
One of those kids is a Bridge Board member, Kai Young. He was once one of us.
So I started off with the Westwood Bridge Project site. At the time, I think I was failing, most of my classes. There's no way of knowing what could have been, because I'm just really glad that that Bridge intervened at that point. I'm very thankful for them, obviously, personally, and just on behalf of all the other youth in low-income neighborhoods.
It epitomizes what I think can be done with young people, getting them early enough.
And yes, they have problems, but it's so wonderful to see them learn and grow and succeed at things.
Many things mixed together makes Bridge work, but there are a few key ingredients.
And one of the reasons we're so successful is because of our relationship with DU.
If it weren't for the graduate students being mentors, an essential link of the program isn't there.
At least a third of what goes on is contributed by volunteer services.
So it takes all these ingredients to make this thing work.
Just imagine how cool it would be if every kid in Denver who needed some help had a chance to be a Bridge kid.
Right now we're in 4 public housing developments. There are 8 kind of traditional developments, and so we're hoping to expand into all 8.
That was our original goal, to be in every housing project.
While helping more and more kids graduate and go on to college, Bridge will also focus on early literacy.
Our staff has taken that as our mission and our driving force to make sure that every kid who enters the doors of the Bridge Project in kindergarten is still with us in 3rd grade and reading on grade level, because that's what's shown to be successful.
When I see a kid open a book and start to read with a tutor or a mentor, that resonates for me. I don't think about what it costs, I think about what the value is.
I have told many people that as a businessman, I've made a lot of investments. This is the best investment I've ever made.
The first young man that I helped get money for bail is now working on his PhD in education. How can you say that it doesn't work?
Helping the Bridge kids helps make Denver a greater city.
Thank you to all the staff and volunteers who make Bridge work every day. Thank you to those of you who back in 1991 took an idea, worked really hard, supported us, and believed in us.